Welcome to the NPX Innovation Chatalyst podcast, the podcast where we talk to innovative leaders in the nuclear industry and beyond. I'm your host, Margaret Macbeth, co-founder and innovation catalyst at NPX. Today we're speaking with Todd Warnell, Chief Information Officer at Bruce Power. All right, hello and welcome to beautiful Kincardine. We are here podcasting today from the NPX office, and we have joining us Todd Warnell, who is the Chief Information Officer at Bruce Power. Welcome, Todd.
Good afternoon, Margaret. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks.
So want to just start off by introducing you a bit. You've been with Bruce Power a bit over a year now, leading the IT division and digital transformation at Bruce Power. Prior to that, you were with Loblaws for what looks like quite an interesting career with several important roles, one of which I was very interested in, Senior Director of Store Communications and Air Traffic Control. So we'll have to dig into that a little bit.
Absolutely. Happy to shed some light on that kind of unique title and what it meant.
Certainly. I also know that you are outdoor lover. I follow you on Instagram, devoted father of 3, and proud Tesla owner.
Very much so. Yes, all the above are true.
What were your thoughts on the Cybertruck unveil?
So interesting. The Cybertruck unveil is interesting on a couple points. First of all, not having a truck is not an option if you really want to accelerate sustainable transport. So first, that they're delivering in that category, really great. The actual design of it is jarring, but at the same time, I think really exciting.
I also noticed that you seem to be quite an avid music lover. So I'm curious, what was your first concert?
My first concert actually didn't do a lot of concerts, kind of commercial concerts at scale. My family's from Nova Scotia on the East Coast, and so we had lots of personal-sized concerts, kitchen parties per se, with all family members and neighbors. It started from my earliest ages. So whether it be the fiddles out, the guitars, the pianos, those were my first concerts. I think my first real commercial kind of large-scale concert, I think, was actually a U2 concert.
Can you tell us a little bit about your career path? How did you go from what looks like a background in business and project management to your current role?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty eclectic background when you look through my LinkedIn or my resume. And fundamentally, I've spent a career starting as early as when I was in university doing summer student jobs around Y2K, the big scary Y2K back in the day. And I was, went into some summer school opportunities or, summer employment opportunities that I looked like a wizard, because I could do things like VLOOKUPs and create access databases and fundamentally start to roll out some early web-based reporting tools for what is one of Canada's largest employers. And that was really kind of a passion of blending my business, education and training with my technology hobby. I've always been a geek from the earliest ages, and it really became this really powerful niche, to be honest. And my career from there, kind of kept going through areas where we're trying to apply technology in innovative ways. And it brought me to many facets of a really large organization.
What surprised you about the nuclear industry?
What surprised me about nuclear is that when you're on the outside looking in, there's this feeling that it's an old technology, that it hasn't changed in forever, and that it's just there generating electricity at scale. And when you get the opportunity to walk any of the power plants or to meet the workforce, you see it's completely the opposite. There is a ton of change that happens, not in the same level or scale of innovation that's happening in other industries, but the ability to make innovative change at scale, I think, is unparalleled. And to jump into that. And so when you're on the outside looking in, I don't think there's a real appreciation of that. There's this concept or this feeling that it's just an old technology. And when you get here and see it through your own eyes, it's very, very changing.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's a lot of misconceptions, not only about the industry, but about the pace of innovation and openness for it. How do you get your team thinking in an innovative way, creatively, and pushing them to drive that change?
Yeah, that's always the conundrum. What is innovation? How do you drive innovation? And so the approach I've taken is that I'm not the idea guy. I'm not the person, but what my job is to give people the confidence and the freedom to make decisions. That's what I can do to drive innovation. And that's what I'm trying to do with my leadership team. That's what I'm trying to do at all ranks and by, all the team members at all levels, to say you have the permission, you have the skill, you have the knowledge to make decisions. Of course, you have to do that in a nuclear framework. It's a different concept when someone's standing in front of a valve and they're saying, hey, should I turn a valve handle one way or the other? That's not, a time to be innovative. I'm just going to try something. But when you're operating in a knowledge mode and you're trying out some new technologies that might be able to, automate or innovate, some processes that are a bit old, maybe archaic, maybe paper driven, we have permission to actually try things, to learn by doing, and recognizing that there are those safe modes that people can be innovative in, and there are modes there we don't want people ever to be innovative in, and being comfortable with that framework.
I'm sure you're a mentor to many people, but I'm curious about your mentors along the way. Any kind of standouts or stories you can share around mentorship?
Yeah, of course. I spent a large part of my career in the Loblaw, family of companies, and I had the great fortune of working with and for some tremendous leaders that really, truly drove a drive for work-life balance, for family first, while still driving some great accomplishments. So there's too many of them to name. I was very fortunate, to be honest, but I've really, taken from them and say that that's possible. Going back to the Tesla comment earlier, Elon, he's eccentric. He's just almost just drives for breaking things and making things happen that most people think is not possible. So I definitely love that ethos of really driving at things that most people say, you're nuts. You'll not be able to create a rocket better than NASA. You won't be able to do that at scale. You won't be able to, do, reusable launch vehicles, electric cars. That's not going to work. And yet here we are.
What do you see as the advantages of a career in nuclear?
I'll say it's the advantage to any career, to be honest, is the ability to use your brain. The most powerful and innovative thing ever created is the human brain itself, and the power of being able to take something that's there and reimagine something better on top of that and continually refactor that, I think is probably the most innovative thing ever created. Being able to apply that in nuclear is really quite a unique opportunity. To be able to be at the heart of generating electricity at scale in a low carbon environment that is necessitated by global climate change. I think that's the real call to action here, is driving a future that can be sustainable, is really quarterbacked right now on large scale nuclear.
What is driving your curiosity right now? What are you curious about? What are you interested in?
Well, definitely the full electrification of transport. That was a passion of mine before coming here. I'm not just trying to, buttress what we do here at Bruce Power, but that fundamental shift from carbon intensive transport into electrification, and the implication that has, not only just in the electrification, but then the shift to true autonomous transport, and what that means for, our cities and the way we work. Like, it has some really fundamental changes that are exciting, and in some cases terrifying that may have. But you look at, some of the opportunities ahead, even just in, you look at ride sharing, and I had the opportunity to hear Malcolm Gladwell speak a few weeks ago, and he talked about, the age for an innovation matters at that time, because who would have thought in New York City back in 1980 that you would just get into a stranger's car because you beckoned it on some device. You would get into that stranger's car and they would take you anywhere you want to go safely. And sure, that idea existed, could have existed, and could have worked, but the environment at that time didn't allow it to work. Now we have the opportunity to go any city in the world essentially and jump into, whether it's an Uber or Lyft or any equivalent service, and you're literally just, that trust factor through technology has changed a fundamental way we do transport. I think there's only massive change to come, in a really exciting way, but it'll also open up some, opportunities or challenges that we hadn't thought of.
Thank you so much, Todd. This was a great chat. Really interested to hear about your journey and your insights on innovation in the industry. So thank you so much for joining us.
Great. Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate the afternoon and the opportunity to chat with you and the team.
Thanks for listening to the NPX Innovation Chatalyst podcast. To hear the full podcast and to subscribe, you can go to Apple Podcasts, Google, or wherever podcasts are available.